On today's Plate of History Beans, I'll serve up a look at the Red River and how that river that forms the boundary between northern Texas and Oklahoma has played an oversized role in Old West lore. First off, just to get my rivers straight, I'll point out that the Red River I'll be talking about today is sometimes called the Red River of the South. There's a northern river that flows between Minnesota and North Dakota, then into Canada, but the one I'm talking about starts in the Texas Panhandle, formerly Comanche and Kiowa territory, then forms the boundary between Texas and Oklahoma, starting roughly near a town called Childress in the southern part of the Texas Panhandle, and traveling around 1,200 miles all the way into Arkansas and south into Louisiana, where it feeds into the Atchafalaya River and swamps. During the Old West era, prior to the Mexican-American War and the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo that allowed for the formation of the Republic of Texas, the Red River served in part as the northern boundary between Mexico and the Louisiana territories that would soon become several U.S. states. If one travels along the Red River nowadays, particularly in the northern parts of the river located in the Texas Panhandle and western parts of Texas, the river is often almost entirely devoid of water. There's generally a small stream that flows through, but one has to travel a bit further east past Wichita Falls to find the wide river that, in some places, rivals other great rivers like the Missouri or Colorado. But I'm not interested in talking about the geography or geology of the Southern Red River. Instead, I want to talk about some of the ways that the river has had an oversized role in terms of Old Western lore. One of the more prominent ways I'd say the river is part of Old West lore is in the form of song. Most folks are familiar with the classic cowboy song Red River Valley. Come and sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu, but remember the Red River Valley and the one that has loved you so true. The song is an American standard and has appeared in dozens of movies and television shows. It's uncertain who wrote the song, or rather the melody. With small changes in the lyrics, the melody has had a number of names, including Cowboy, Love Song, Bright River Valley. Honestly, you can find all sorts of permutations of the song to fit just about any valley you care to name. Historians point to Canada for the song's origins, but it's certain that the song, at least in my mind, and I think in the minds of most fans of Westerns, is most associated with the Red River located in the heart of the Old West, along the border between Texas and Oklahoma. Other artists have written songs about the Red River, some of them, like Bob Dylan's Red River Shore and Johnny Cash's Please Don't Play Red River Valley, are closely related to the original song. There are lots of cowboy songs about rivers, and I'd venture to say, if a cowboy is involved, the Red River might be in there somewhere. The Red River also plays a prominent role in Western movies. The Howard Hawks classic Red River, starring Montgomery Clift and John Wayne, remains a seminal Western that tells the story of a Texas rancher driving a herd of longhorns from the San Antonio region through Texas, across the Red River and up the Chisholm Trail to Abilene, Kansas. Other movies that feature cattle drives and river crossings, keep in mind the Red River would have been the biggest barrier to most cattle drives from Texas to Abilene along the Chisholm Trail, include Cattle Empire, 1958, and Border River, 1954, both starring cowboy actor Joel McCrea. In fact, McCrea starred in a string of westerns in the 1950s, many with almost identical plots about men fighting Indians, the elements, outlaws, cattle rustlers, and driving their herds to market in Kansas. Inevitably, each of those movies had a scene featuring cowboys herding cattle across a wide river into Indian Territory. Other movies that feature cattle drives include The Cowboys, starring John Wayne, Culpeper Cattle Company, the comedy City Slickers and its sequel, and a slew of others. Indeed, the cattle drive and river crossings is such a familiar trope in Old West lore, movie makers in general stopped bothering to name rivers and give viewers any sort of geographical orientation whatsoever. Watching movies, one might assume that at some point in the Old West, cowboys were driving great herds of cattle here and there from point A to point B all over the place. In truth, though, the bulk of all cattle drives happened in a very narrow window of time, from around 1865 following the Civil War until perhaps 1885 when railroads took over the transport of cattle in most places. It can also be said that most cattle drives followed a similar pathway from the central part of Texas, where literally hundreds of thousands of longhorn cattle bred in the wild, brushy country there and could be gathered by cowboys without regard to ownership and herded north up the Chisholm Trail through central Oklahoma and across Kansas to towns like Abilene. So in terms of Western lore, the Red River has a prominent place. Basically speaking, anytime you see the familiar Western movie trope, cowboys driving cattle across a river, despite where the movie might take place, if they mention that detail at all, there's a good chance the scene has its origins in the Chisholm Trail and includes a crossing of the wide southern Red River. Now, before you say it, I am aware that ranchers drove cattle in places like Montana, Wyoming, Missouri Territory, etc. But to illustrate my point further, I'll just say that the major cattle trails, the Chisholm Western Trail, the Goodnight Trail, and the Shawnee, all originate in Texas, pass through Oklahoma on their way to Kansas. One thing is for certain, despite the historical reality of cattle drives, the lore or mythology that surrounds the Red River has stretched far beyond the actual geographical boundaries of that river. So next time you see a cattle drive in a movie, whether that movie be set in California, Oregon, Wyoming, Montana, Missouri, hell, even Italy, just keep in mind that they are pushing those cattle across the river. There is a little bit of the Red River in there. Thanks for tuning in to today's Plate of History Beans. As always, if you like my content, I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, if you're following my book hunting charm, I invite you to take a look at my author's page on Amazon. I'll have links to my author's page and a little more information about the Southern Red River in the space below. Now it's time for Chapter 30 of Hunting Charm, The Path of Righteousness. Chapter 30, The Path of Righteousness. She edged her way along the opposite riverbank, leading Cotton Socks through the thick brush until she emerged into an area flattened by human activity. Two fish, spitted on sticks, sizzled over a fire near a tent. "Hello," she called out, her voice quavering. For a long moment she heard nothing. Then a slight rustling of brush and a hesitant voice came from the thicket to her right. "Yes, ma'am. I'm just here." Doreen turned but saw only a stand of cattails. She fought to remain calm, pulling at Cotton Sock's reins, cowering alongside the hinny. "Come out here where I can see you. I want you to come out." Thing is, I'm horrible to look upon, ma'am." "I've seen you before." Cactus Branch emerged slowly, his face invisible beneath a broad hat. Doreen, who had seen Henry only one other time during the day, examined him carefully for the first time. She realized his body wasn't as misshapen as she had first imagined. She had seen much worse. Men back from war with burns to their faces or missing limbs. Henry inspired fear not because of his injuries, but rather because of his size. "I know you killed that man last night at my tent," Doreen said. "I wanted to, well, to tell you I'm grateful." Henry nodded. "Yes, ma'am, it's fortunate I was near when it come upon you like that." "You understand that you could hang for that crime if I decided to tell anyone. Your secret is safe for now. The man forced himself on me without my consent. Do you understand the meaning of consent?" "Yes, ma'am. It means he didn't have your permission to do what he was doing." "That's correct." She paused, then said, "The fact is you aided me last night. As I said, I'm grateful for your help." Despite his own insecurities about the situation, Henry found Doreen's thanks gratifying. He was also more than a little surprised that she had appeared at his campsite. He had spent a good deal of time imagining a moment when someone acknowledged the goodness inside him. Now it had come in a way he would never have imagined possible. For a moment he wondered if the years of mental agony might be nearing an end, and his reward finally near. Just as quickly he brushed the idea from his mind, mentally scolding himself for indulging such foolishness. The entire situation was an odd coincidence, he told himself, and his response, the sense that something mystical had occurred when Doreen appeared, the result of an overactive imagination. Still, Doreen was here before him. He had decided to leave, to head back to his solitary life in Creek territory, but that morning, before he began packing his things, a dark sense of resignation had overcome him. His choices to stay and, like a deviant, continue watching Doreen, or return to servitude and abject loneliness in Indian territory, seemed equally meaningless. A third choice existed, one he had been seriously considering. Before Doreen arrived, the notion that he might confess the murder for the previous night and face the judgment of the railroad gang had entered his mind. Life had grown too difficult. The idea of death felt almost comforting, but now this unexpected turn of events, Doreen standing before him and her expression of thanks. Did God or some other force have a hand in things? Was there a reason for him to continue? "The truth is, I could use your help," Doreen continued. "You see, the men in camp are a rough breed. I can't risk another episode like last night. Do you see my problem?" With a shock of recognition, Henry understood why Doreen had come. "You mean I would be there to watch after you?" "Yes," Doreen said. "You would be my guardian, my Black Knight." She had said it aloud, as ridiculous and condescending as it sounded. "You could hide there in the brush near my camp, and if I called out, then you could respond." "I would hide so the men couldn't see me." "Yes, naturally you would hide. I couldn't possibly have you—" Doreen paused. She realized with a degree of surprise that, despite his appearance, Cactus Branch possessed a high degree of intelligence. She considered her words before continuing. "The truth is, since you're colored, some white folks might find your being there. Well, I don't want my clients to feel uneasy. Also, I would pay you for your service." Cactus Branch paused for a moment, unsure of his response. This woman needed his protection and was bartering with him. With that realization, Doreen suddenly seemed less like a mystical being and more like one of the men he dealt with when bargaining for his carpentry skills. He thought about the string of men arriving and leaving Doreen's tent the previous evening. Henry knew of prostitutes. In fact, in the days of his youth, one of the other slaves had taken him to a house near the edge of the plantation. Inside, a woman had taken his John Henry in her hand, just as Doreen had done. He had been afraid that night, uncertain what might happen. Something about the transaction had seemed mystical to him at the time, though now he realized that it had simply been his innocence. He recalled his auntie's admonishment about the woman. "She ain't nothing but a whore. A boy like you all busted up can't expect no love from a gal. No gal. That's going to be a mighty hard road, but you can't be a fool, Henry." Despite his auntie's warning, he had returned to the prostitute's house, though on the second occasion he went alone. That night the woman turned him away. "I did it once as a favor to Buck, but I ain't about to let you in here regular like. I heard tell you be bringing the bad juju. You just go on and take care of your own self. Shandy ain't gonna take care of you." "So you will assist me if I pay you?" Doreen asked. I was just hired alongside your tent. How will I know if you need help?" "I'll call out." Doreen examined Henry carefully. His right shoulder and shriveled arm could be overlooked, but there was something else. Henry's expression of fear mixed with angst inspired nervousness. She wondered if someone so troubled could be counted on. Even so, she needed his help, and she knew how to manipulate others. As a child, she had learned that a few tears or a smile could sway her father to purchase any trinket she desired. Later, as she blossomed into an attractive young woman, she perfected her ability to manipulate men. She stepped nearer. Did she dare to touch Henry again? She recalled the dark night near Cecil Johnson's tool shed. The thought gave her an odd thrill. She stepped closer still and placed one hand on Henry's chest. The man shivered noticeably. Then something happened that shocked Doreen. As she moved her hand downward, Henry placed a hand on hers and pulled away. "Stop, please. Just stop," Henry cried, his voice choked with emotion. "I wasn't placed here on this earth to have no pleasure. The good Lord sent me to do a job, ain't no more, no less." Doreen, stunned and annoyed, took a step back. Had this man, this deformed creature, just refused her? She started to snap at Henry to put him in his place. Something stopped her, however. Was it Henry's plaintive tone, his tortured expression? Henry turned and took a few steps away, his back heaving. When he turned again, for once, his gaze didn't wander. The look in his eyes, terrible and probing, filled her with dread and shame. "I don't lay with no prostitute. Henry done been a slave, and he won't be no slave to his lust. Best you know that right now. I ain't gonna lay with you none." Oh, fine, good." Doreen, frustrated, wanted to say more, but the problems she had brought upon herself flooded her mind. I would prefer you didn't, since you're so—" "Ain't no need to tell Henry. He's terrible to look upon." "No, that's not what I meant." "The Lord put me here to look after you. Leastways, that's how it seems. I've seen you in dreams. You understand me? I seen an angel looks like you in my dreams." The words came out with such intensity that Doreen cowered. "Please, I didn't mean anything. I was just—" "He ain't got no reason to fear. Ain't no man needs to fear Henry. No man. Except maybe one who would do harm to another. I see clear." Henry's voice became a whisper. "I see clear as day." What do you see?" "Myself. My own terrible self." A long moment passed, then something one would not have thought possible happened inside Doreen's mind. Looking at Henry as he struggled with the notion the two of them were bound in some unexplainable way, she felt empathy. Why? Why do you call me your angel? She asked. He paused, and for a moment she imagined Henry might share some profound revelation, but he only nodded, the look of uncertainty once more twisting his brow. Dreams, he whispered. A fool's dreams. I'm not an angel, you know. I never claimed to be anything other than what I am. I can't help that you've suffered because of... Her voice trailed off as she gestured towards him. The Lord done made me this way for a reason. What reason could... The Lord, He put me here, right here, in this moment. Maybe this is how things is meant to be. As a boy, Henry spent hours praying for change in his physical condition. Isolation forced him to find ways to compensate for his injuries. While other children played, Henry sharpened his rudimentary reading skill. His teacher, a soft-spoken slave who had come from the north, had seen Henry's desire to learn and had given him a soldier's pocket Bible. Over the years he read the book more than once, though he couldn't claim it all made sense. Later, after the move to Indian Territory, a Unitarian pastor spent a few months living with the Creek people. Even though the man never spoke directly to Henry, no one spoke with Henry. The bookish white man left behind pamphlets, papers, and a single book called A Unitarian Handbook of Scriptural Illustrations and Expositions. Since none of the tribesmen had any interests in the book or papers, Henry asked if he could take them. He read the book, glad to have something new, and took special interest in a chapter called Vicarious Sacrifice. The author, Robert Spears, writing about God's decision to sacrifice his son to atone for the sins of men, suggested that Christ's death was not only about the long-term well-being of men, but, if taken as an example, about atoning for sin in the present evil world. Spears claimed that the act of self-sacrifice leads to greater rewards in heaven, not exactly a novel idea, but one that Henry found applicable to his life. In the same book, the author, a deist, claimed that God exists solely in nature. With the understanding that nature is often cruel, Henry came to accept his physical handicap and even see it as a sort of blessing. Thanks to his mangled arm and curved spine, he saw things more clearly than most men. In those two ways, Henry found comfort in his unique situation. He no longer blamed God for his isolation, but came to believe suffering had fallen upon him for a reason. He also came to believe, perhaps vainly, that it takes a unique level of suffering to achieve true righteousness. With that knowledge, if it can be called knowledge, he began to examine other men. Some men, usually the wealthiest and most comfortable, seemed confident in their ways. While often studious and filled with knowledge, Henry concluded that such men generally owe their success and education to advantages afforded by family heritage. Other men, like the slave catchers that killed his father, imagined their instincts were God's will and detached themselves from nature so completely they became like devils. Henry came to recognize the irony of a world where the most indecent men often became the most self-assured of their own righteousness. Of course, Henry's musings about his fellow man did nothing to relieve his own doubts and suffering. He spent his days praying that God might dispel his uncertainty. He longed for a clear understanding of his purpose. Now that Doreen had appeared, as defective as she might be, he felt this might be the moment he had waited for. Was it possible that angels appeared as flawed individuals in need of help? You will need to remain hidden. You understand that, right? Yes, ma'am. Thing is, the white men gonna hang me if they see I'm here. They gonna know right away that I killed that man last night. So if you want Henry to protect you, you got to protect Henry a little too."
Doreen paused. It had not occurred to her that her plan might endanger Henry's life.
"So you're not going to help me? I thought you said—" "I'm going to help. I'm just saying the men."
His voice became nearly inaudible.
"Them men's gonna kill me sure as can be, quick as they know I'm here. They're gonna lynch me straight off. So you can't be bragging on how you got a man to protect you."
"You mean—" Now Doreen paused, realizing the truth in Henry's observation. "You mean you're willing to stay? To help me? Even though—"
"I ain't coming over until dark. If you call, I'm gonna make certain you ain't hurt. I ain't staying 'cept for one reason. I ain't sure yet, but maybe—"
Henry paused, then continued.
"Maybe the Lord, or some force I don't understand, done put me here."
"I told you I'm no angel."
"I ain't saying you are an angel, but—"
Henry paused, considering how he might express his thoughts.
"Thing is, a caterpillar don't know he is more than a worm, but the Lord planned something for that bug. Who's gonna say the worm ain't got a dream where he flies and has wings like a monarch? Who's gonna say an angel knows he an angel?"
Doreen paused for a long moment, considering Henry's words. She had come hoping to find a protector. She had not expected Henry would challenge her way of thinking. "I don't understand why you're willing to help," she said. "But I'm grateful."
"Ain't much here for Cactus Branch except maybe a hammer and some nails. I ain't born to no comfort, no children to laugh and call my own, no home where I can settle. Now I have killed a man."
Henry's voice trailed off, and a second long pause ensued. Finally, Doreen spoke. "So you will be there watching later on when it gets dark?"
"You won't see old Henry, but he's gonna be there. Just call out. I won't be long coming."
She led Cotton Socks back through the brush and across the river. The sound of pinging hammers reminded her that one or more of Patty's clones would be arriving soon. The money the men paid for sex satisfied her desire for cash, but her illusions about prostitution had been dispelled. She felt her emotions rise once more, and for the 100th time began to cry. Had she really been so innocent of the real world? Why had she imagined things would be better away from her comfortable home? Her father, who had seemed like a tyrant, now seemed benign, a pompous but essentially kind older gentleman. Then another thought occurred to her. What if her father, angered by her selfishness, refused to take her back? She could imagine him red-faced and angry, telling her she could never return. The thought angered her, and she stopped crying, more determined than ever to succeed on her own. She wouldn't give her father the satisfaction of crawling back. No, she would remain here at the camp for a few more days, save money, and move comfortably to Fort Worth. Unfortunately, she now realized, she wasn't cut out to become a bar girl at a cheap saloon. Such degradation might be acceptable for some, but a woman of her intelligence could do better. The cool afternoon had given way to humid late-day heat. Back at her tent, she considered a nap, but knew the tent's interior would be stifling. She made her way down the embankment to the river. At the water's edge, she pulled her dress up, exposing her ankles, and waded in a few feet. Venturing upstream, she came to a deeply shaded spot beneath an elm and settled against the trunk of the tree. There, with her feet in the cool water, she thought once more of her situation. As she dozed, she clenched her hands. She wouldn't cry any more. She woke some time later, groggy and confused, insects buzzing and chirring, their sound punctuated by the incessant pinging of the tireless steel drivers. She knew the men would work until sunset and wondered what time it might be. Recalling an old trick her father had shown her, she measured the distance between the sun and horizon and decided it must be around 6. The men from the camp would be arriving soon, within the next hour. Cactus Branch said he would be coming over after dark. Once again, she walked along the riverside, feeling sticky and uncomfortable. When she came upon a spot sheltered by an enormous hackberry, she decided to have a short dip. The red water eddied and curled in the secluded pool, and the sandy river bottom felt nice between her toes. She pulled her dress over her head, hanging the juniper-colored garment carefully on a low-hanging branch. In the past, she would have thrown the dress to the floor for her girl. She had always thought of Becky as a bit of a fool. Doreen recalled complaining about one of her dresses, saying she hated the thing and it should be thrown out. Becky had looked enviously at the dress, a belted shift with rows of finely embroidered flowers and vine. The maid, in her meek tone, had said that she had never owned a dress so fine. "Take the horrific thing, then." Doreen recalled how Becky's face lit up at the prospect that she might have the dress. "Oh, miss, I couldn't take anything so fine." "I suppose you're right," she had replied. "It would set a bad precedent for me to give you my used things. Put it in the incinerator." Rather than argue, Becky nodded and said, "Yes, ma'am," and folded the dress, placing it with the other laundry. Thinking back, Doreen wondered if Becky might have secretly taken the dress anyway. Looking again at the juniper-colored gingham gown, dirty at the lower hemline and torn in one spot, Doreen felt something amiss inside. Had she really been so selfish and stupid? She emerged from the red water, drying herself with her undershirt. She rinsed the chemise and her bloomers, wringing each garment carefully, thinking that the iron-red water masked the dots of menstrual blood that dotted her underpants. She dressed in the shady cove, wanting to wash the gingham dress as well, knowing the red water would change the color of the fabric. Perhaps she could ask one of the men later for clean water from the camp. She grimaced and slipped the dress over her damp underclothes, refreshed, but once again fighting the urge to cry. Back at her campsite, she entered the tent and changed into her other dress, a sturdier woolen skirt with a matching attached blouse and a fetching neckline. She had been airing the garment, and it smelled better than the gingham dress. Unfortunately, in the humid air, the wool would be uncomfortably hot. Feeling cleaner and somewhat safer, her doubts about whoring had eased some. She thought perhaps she might enjoy some company. She had favored one man from the previous evening, a tall, older gentleman with a lean face and gentle hands. Maybe he would return, or another cowboy, someone younger and handsome. Her dismal day had turned, at least for the moment, into an evening filled with possibilities. 15 minutes later, the skinny cowboy from earlier arrived and seated himself on the log near the embankment. She felt a pang of annoyance, but propping up her emotions, told herself the young man might provide a bit of fun. "Hello!" She emerged from the tent and curtsied. He stood with a start. Howdy, miss. I was, well, you were what?" She noticed the cowboy's eyes had already wandered to her bosom. "Well, I got my $4. Patterson ain't watching after you no more, but you ain't got nothing to worry about. Me and the other boys done said how we ain't gonna let no more drunks like Leroy come over this way." Doreen moved close and touched the young cowboy on the shoulder. He gulped. eyes now fixed upon her breast.
"Do you like what you see? I'd hoped to wear something nicer this evening, but unfortunately I was forced to leave my previous situation hastily."
She looked directly into the skinny cowboy's eyes, pouting a little.
"I hope you don't mind that I don't have something nicer to wear."
No, ma'am, I don't care one bit." With a sense of satisfaction, Doreen noticed a large bulge growing in the cowboy's jeans. She entered the tent, but neglected to pull the tent flap closed behind her. She motioned the cowboy forward, then reached up under the woolen skirt, making a show of removing her still damp, Red River-stained bloomers. She then lifted her skirt, giving the man a good look at her calves. The young cowboy began undressing, dancing on one foot to remove his jeans. Soon the awkward young man stood before her, naked from the waist time.
"This here's my first time,"
he said.
"Well, I guess you better give me the $4.
She extended her hand. A second comical scene ensued as the cowboy, trying to hide his erection, searched through his pants. He located 3 of the coins immediately, but the 4th eluded him. Finally, after several apologies and frantic turnings of pockets, he found the coin in his shirt pocket.
"I forgot I put it there for good luck."
Not unpredictably, the cowboy's youthful zeal concluded with a yelp 2 minutes later. Doreen, sensible enough to direct the young man to pull out before his climax, couldn't help but feel slightly annoyed. After the bath, she had recovered some hope that her new profession might provide some entertainment.
"Get dressed and send the next one," she said, rinsing herself from a bucket.
"Thank you, ma'am." The young cowboy spent another minute or so dancing around to get back into his jeans, then was gone. Darkness had fallen, and a succession of cowboys came and went, some old, others fat, some handsome, and all bearded. Finally, after the 8th man, Doreen felt thoroughly soiled and ready to cry.
"I won't see any more tonight,"
she said to a cowboy of perhaps 40 with dark, sun-lined skin. "There's at least one more feller plans to come out when I get back. He's got his $4. The cowboy spoke as if she had no say in the matter.
"Tell him he will have to wait."
The cowboy seemed baffled by her statement. "I'll tell him, but I reckon he might just come on anyway."
"If he comes here, he won't get anything. Tell him to go behind a cedar and pull on it for all I care, but I've had enough."
"Well," the cowboy chuckled, "why don't you tell him your own self?"
"Fine,"
Doreen said, fighting tears. A few minutes later, another cowboy arrived, a burly man who smelled strongly of liquor and sweat. Doreen immediately sensed a similarity between this man and the bearded rapist from the previous night. Still, she felt determined to send him away. If she gave in, there might be another cowboy, and then another, and another.
"I'm sorry, but I can't do another fella tonight."
She tried her best to remain firm, but felt her lower lip quivering. "It won't take me but a minute." The cowboy's voice sounded a bit forlorn, but not threatening. Indeed, by the flickering firelight, she could see he had a large smile and an easy, pleasant demeanor. Her attitude softened, but she felt so dirty and exhausted.
"It's just,
Doreen thought of Cactus Branch hiding somewhere in the surrounding brush. Would he come out and kill this man as well if she called for help?
"It's just that I've been with 8 men tonight, and I'm new at this."
The man waved, stopping her. "Listen here, ma'am, I ain't the type to force a young lady to do anything. Some of these men, well, they would just as soon ride a steer as a fine woman. Myself, I'd just as soon wait." Doreen felt her emotions rise. She hadn't expected understanding. She began to sob. "It's just that she choked, gulping. "I didn't think this would be so difficult. And—" "Hush now," the burly cowboy insisted. "The others will wait. I'll see to it. You're done worn out. A gal like yourself, young and fine, shouldn't be expected to service 10 or 15 hard dicks in a day. I heard tell you was worth $4, and I believe that's true. You're a mighty pretty gal, mighty pretty. It's a shame gals like you have no other way in the world except to sell yourselves. In other circumstances, a young woman like yourself would find herself married to a wealthy gentleman. I pray the hard circumstances that led you here will ease some." The cowboy tipped his hat, assured her a second time that he would tell the others to wait, and left the campground. Hunting Charm Chapter 30, Part 2. Henry Walker crossed the river just after sunset. For a time he crouched beneath a stand of oak brush 50 yards from Doreen's camp. He noted the coming and going of 2 cowboys, both remaining for only a few minutes. After the departure of the second client, he decided to creep a bit closer and made his way to a hiding spot a mere 20 yards from Doreen's tent. He settled in a thicket of switchgrass and witnessed more men coming and going. He felt an array of emotions: anger, sadness, arousal, but he neither touched himself nor did he allow emotions to overwhelm his awareness of the task at hand. Over the years, Henry had become expert at controlling his feelings. He had learned he could neither expect understanding should he fail, nor sympathy should he show the slightest vulnerability. Henry knew that no matter how excellent his work might be, he would never receive accolades or the comfort of human fellowship. He could not recall a time when anyone had engaged him in friendly conversation. Indeed, if someone had, he was so lacking in experience he would not know how to respond. When he saw the round cowboy leave without entering the tent, he emerged. Doreen seemed despondent as she told him she was done for the night. He nodded, relieved that he would not have to continue watching the parade of cowboys, but also somewhat disappointed. Had he imagined they might talk afterwards? He realized that he had. Days passed and a routine evolved. During the day, both Doreen and Henry rested in their respective camps. Then in the evenings, Doreen entertained a string of rail workers, while Henry hid in the brush, far enough away that he didn't have to actively listen, but close enough to hear Doreen call out. The moment never came. During those evenings, Doreen collected nearly $300, a sum which made her increasingly uneasy for fear that one of the men from camp might steal her hard-earned cash. Meanwhile, her meager wardrobe grew increasingly repugnant, despite daily rinsings in the river. Finally, after 2 weeks, she announced to one of the cowboys she would be leaving for Fort Worth. "I can't stand it here any longer. I have nothing to wear, and I'm tired of seeing the same men night after night." "Camp don't suit you?" The stringy cowboy, Pete something, asked. "I'm sick of this entire situation. My original plan was to go to Fort Worth, and it's time I did." "Ain't no cowboy paying $4 for pussy in Fort Worth." "Doesn't matter. I'm tired of this stinking tent, and I need new clothes." The cowboy didn't respond, but Doreen knew he must have said something to her next customer, because the cowboy, another Patty, asked about her intention to leave. "You can't just leave us untended. Ain't nothing else to do." The man seemed genuinely concerned. "We can't get you some new clothes, and the fellers and me was thinking we could rig you up a better camping situation. Ain't no need to run off." Doreen had made up her mind, however. As the Scotsman pulled on his boots after a hasty discharge, she told him he would be her last client for the evening. Fortunately, the man agreed without the usual arguing. As Paddy, or Sean, or whatever his name was, disappeared into the brush, she stepped gingerly to the edge of the embankment and called out. When Henry emerged from the thicket of cane grass, she asked him to sit. "We need to talk." She came directly to the point. "I plan to move to Fort Worth, and I plan to take you along." Henry, who had grown increasingly discouraged over the past few days, didn't respond. He had been hoping Doreen might move on, but wasn't certain he wanted to continue in his role as watchman. During the hours spent hiding, he thought more and more of his home in Oklahoma. He missed his tools and the work he had done for years. Even though he knew he would never feel a part of the Muskogee community, he took pride in the things he crafted. He also had time to examine his attachment to Doreen. Only the nagging feeling that Doreen fulfilled some destiny had kept him there. Faced with Doreen's profession, that line of reasoning had grown increasingly tenuous.
"Are you certain you need me to come along, ma'am? I ain't going to be able to hide in Fort Worth."
"You won't be hiding any longer. After we leave here, and once we get into Fort Worth, I will tell everyone you are my hired man. Tonight, I want you to pack your camp and move on down the trail. Find a place to cross the river, then wait near the railroad tracks. I'll be by tomorrow. If we should meet any men we know after that, we can say you just arrived." Cactus Branch lowered his head, once again uncertain. The days spent hiding, the fear of capture, the possibility he might be found out for the killing of the bearded cowboy, plus memories of his life in Indian territory, told him he should return to his home. "I will compensate you, of course." Doreen spoke the words sweetly, as if the money made a significant difference. "In fact, it's time I paid you for your work thus far." As she rose, Henry considered her offer. The thought of a town, a place where he would be subject to the looks and ridicule of hundreds of strangers, filled him with apprehension. Could he face such a challenge? Doreen returned and placed a considerable stack of coins into his hand. Then she seated herself and began to speak to him in an unexpected way. "Henry Walker," she said, speaking the name as if it had special significance. "That's your full name, right?"
Yes, ma'am."
"It's a good name, and I think—" Doreen paused and looked at him directly. "I think you're a good man." Henry didn't know what to say. A white person had never spoken to him in such a way. He felt an uneasiness in his stomach and stuttered over his response.
I try to be, ma'am."
"I know you do, Henry, and I appreciate what you've done for me. It mustn't be easy. I still don't understand why you called me your angel. I'm sure by now you must think I'm terrible. Thing is, though," she continued, "I need your help. My father taught me things, including the fact that people have choices. These past few days I've decided I don't want to spend my life whoring, but the simple truth is, for a woman there isn't much else available. So for the time being, I will continue, and I need you to—" Again Doreen trailed off, then asked, "Have you ever had $25 before?" Henry looked at the stack of coins. Truthfully, he had never had more than $1 or $2 at one time. Payment for his carpentry always came in the way of chickens, a pig perhaps, firewood or milled lumber, blankets, or other bartered items. None of the people he dealt with had money.
I never needed much money. Ain't never had none, but it ain't been of no consequence."
"Would you like to have a wife, Henry?"
"Ain't no woman would have me as a husband."
"I think you're wrong.
Your injuries, well, they do make you look a bit odd, but there are women who would likely find you perfectly acceptable. You would need money, though. Do you understand?
Is money what women wants?
Cactus Branch looked once again at the coins.
Well, not entirely, but it helps. Security, I believe, is important for most people, women especially. That includes money. When we get to Fort Worth, I hope to open a small business of my own, something small at first, with a couple of women and good liquor. I'll still need security, a man to keep an eye on things. For now, I can pay you 50 cents each day. That's about $15 a month, a decent wage by most standards.
He looked at the money, counting it silently in his head.
Is this here a lot of money?
He asked.
Not really,
Doreen replied.
but you might buy a small homestead with that, or perhaps some livestock.
I already have me 2 mules.
I know, Henry. I wasn't suggesting you buy animals. I'm simply saying that money gives you choices. You could buy any number of things with those coins.
Henry considered Doreen's comment about a wife.
You figure a gal might have me if I was to have a little money?
Doreen smiled. For one so imposing, Henry seemed devoid of confidence, a trait that would not work in his favor with the fairer sex. Still, if one took a moment to look at Henry's face, beyond the knitted brow and the downcast eyes, he wasn't unattractive. There was a certain thoughtfulness there and a kind nature. She realized that this man, one that she had once feared, had never been a threat.
Henry, I don't know if you will find a woman. I hope you will. I just need your help. It's a business arrangement. I know that having a secure income is something women think about. I didn't realize until recently that life can be so difficult.
She paused for a long moment.
I'm just like my father said. I'm spoiled and selfish. I don't know why life has placed us together. Luck, chance, whatever it is, but here we are. Was your life good at the place you were living in Indian Territory?
Cactus Branch considered the question. He thought once again of his life with the Muskogee. He had no friends there. His work, which he found rewarding, gave him no relief from the endless loneliness of the place. Still, he had never imagined he would be anything but alone.
To hide along the tracks down south of here, and you'll be coming along tomorrow.
That's right.
What if the folks in Fort Worth are scared of me? Folks been scared of Henry before. They might just string me up from an old tree somewhere.
You'll be with me. Remember, you're my hired man. And that would be true, Henry. You will be my employee.
Henry considered Doreen's offer for a long moment. It seemed plausible that people in general would have respect for a woman with a colored man in her employ. Many former slaves remained on plantations following the war, working for their former owners, sharecropping, too fearful of the unknown to move on.
Maybe I'm just an old slave working for his former owner, he said.
Exactly, Doreen replied.
And you plan to start up whoring again once we get to Fort Worth?
The smile on Doreen's face disappeared, and she spoke with a hint of resignation.
I hope to provide my services to a special clientele. Ours will be an exclusive place, only for those willing to pay a little more. I won't be a common whore, but I can't accomplish that alone. You'll be paid just as we discussed. When we arrive in Fort Worth, we will find a place. You will help me do the renovations, then we will open. It will be a business, Henry. Nothing more.
I like to build things, sure enough, and I'm right good at it. You don't know that about old Henry, but I'm right good at carpenter's work.
Then it's settled.
Doreen reached out and touched Henry on his damaged right hand, an action that shocked him. He drew the hand away, but she grasped it, examining it.
Were you born with this? With your hand in this condition?
No, ma'am.
Henry felt flustered by the question. Was Doreen interested in his past?
Will you tell me what happened sometime?
For the first time, Henry Walker dared to look directly at Doreen. Even though the young woman possessed a great natural beauty, in that moment he saw something else. Doreen looked tired and helpless. In his heart, Henry felt something he hadn't expected. Could it be that this young woman, as spoiled and selfish as she seemed, was more than she seemed?
Will you tell me about your hand and your shoulder sometime?
Doreen repeated.
After all, we're going to be on the trail for a few days. I would like to know.
Then Henry did something that he hadn't done in 30 years or more. He forgot about his own suffering and smiled.